Football in England has always been tied to its rivers. The game grew up in dockside towns and riverside cities, where industry and community shaped both the clubs and their homes. Today, we'll look at 10 of England's major football stadiums built along riversides, exploring their stories, their quirks, and what makes them special. Let's dive right in. 20. Craven Cottage. Few stadiums in the world can match the charm of Craven Cottage. Home to Fulham since 1896, this famous ground is perched right on the banks of the River Thames in West London. Walk along the Riverside path on a match day, and you'll hear the chants spilling out over the water, a reminder of how deeply football is woven into the city's fabric. 19. Riverside Stadium. The name says it all. The Riverside Stadium has been Middlesbrough's home since 1995, when the club left their old Ayresome Park. Built on the banks of the River Tees, the ground was part of Teesside's post-industrial regeneration. The Riverside location isn't just in the name. The ground really does look out over the Tees, with the iconic Transporter Bridge in the distance. 18. City Ground. There's a magical quality about the City Ground. Home to Nottingham Forest since 1898, the stadium sits directly on the banks of the River Trent. On one side you have the water, on the other you can see Meadow Lane, home of rivals Notts County, just across the river. On a clear day, the stadium's red stands reflect beautifully in the river. 17. Meadow Lane. Directly opposite the City Ground, separated only by the River Trent, sits Meadow Lane. County fans take pride in their Riverside home, with the Riverwalk and the looming presence of the City Ground across the water adding to the atmosphere. It's a place of character, where the Riverside location ties two clubs together in rivalry and tradition. 16. Bet365 Stadium. Stoke City moved into the Bet365 Stadium, originally known as the Britannia, in 1997. Built on a raised site near the River Trent and overlooking the Trent and Mersey Canal, the ground is exposed to the winds, giving it a reputation as one of the coldest stadiums in England. Its riverside setting ties it to Stoke's industrial and canal heritage. 15. New York Stadium. Rotherham United's New York Stadium is one of the most modern riverside grounds in the country. Opened in 2012, it sits right by the River Don, replacing the club's old Millmore ground. With a capacity of 12,021, it's not the biggest stadium. The Riverside location was chosen as part of a redevelopment project, and today it stands as a symbol of the town's regeneration. 14. St. Mary's Stadium. Southampton's St. Mary's Stadium has been home to the Saints since 2001. Built on the east bank of the River Itchen, it was part of a project to bring the club closer to its roots. With a capacity of 32,505, it is the largest football stadium in South England outside London. The riverside setting is striking. Fans walking across the Itchen Bridge can see the stadium rising against the water. 13. Everton Stadium. It's a stunning project, built within a historic dock that is part of Liverpool's UNESCO World Heritage waterfront. The design preserves the industrial dock walls while creating a modern football cathedral. For Evertonians, it marks a new era, leaving behind Goodison Park, one of the most historic inner-city stadiums in the country, for a riverside giant that could push the club forward. 12. Portman Road. Opened in 1884, it's one of the oldest professional football stadiums still in use. Today, it holds around 29,673 fans and remains the beating heart of Suffolk football. The ground sits close to the River Orwell, which runs through Ipswich and out to the North Sea. The waterfront has always been central to the town's economy and identity, and Portman Road's location reflects that heritage. 11. Cardiff City Stadium. While technically in Wales, Cardiff City Stadium deserves a mention for its riverside setting. Opened in 2009, it replaced the famous Old Ninian Park and today holds 33,280 fans. It sits close to the River Ely, which flows into Cardiff Bay, tying the stadium to the city's maritime and industrial roots. Cardiff City Stadium has already hosted international matches, FA Cup ties, and even concerts. 10. Principality Stadium. We kick off with one of the most famous riverside arenas in the UK, even if it's technically in Wales. The Principality Stadium, sitting right on the banks of the River Taff in Cardiff, is a giant in every sense. Opened in 1999, It replaced the old Cardiff Arms Park and instantly became a national icon. The stadium's setting is dramatic and central to the city's identity. 9. MKM Stadium, KCOM. Officially opened in 2002, the MKM Stadium, formerly the KCOM, is a sleek 25,586-seater ground that replaced the aging Booth Ferry Park. Its location matters. Hull is a city shaped by docks and rivers, and the stadium sits inside West Park, but close to the Humber's wide sweep and the smaller River Hull that cuts through the city. That connection to water is part of Hull's DNA. 8. Pride Park. Opened in 1997, Pride Park is Derby County's modern home, replacing the beloved baseball ground. Its capacity today stands at 33,597, making it one of the larger championship stadiums. Pride Park sits close to the River Derwent, which snakes through Derby, and that proximity has shaped its location and atmosphere. The river also links to Derby's long industrial heritage. 7. Anfield. Liverpool's Anfield isn't directly on the riverbank, but its soul belongs to the River Mersey. Built in 1884, Anfield is one of the most iconic stadiums in world football. The Mersey runs about a mile to the south, and you can see its influence everywhere in the club's history. The docks, the waterfront, the city's global connections, all stem from that river. 6. Old Trafford. The Theatre of Dreams is arguably the most famous riverside stadium in England. Built in 1910 and now holding around 74,140 fans, it stands right on the edge of the Manchester Ship Canal at Salford Quays. United's directors wanted space and transport links, and the canal side land gave both. The result is a stadium that feels tied to water, industry, and Manchester's rise. 5. Blundell Park. Home of Grimsby Town since 1899, it sits in Cleethorpes right on the Humber estuary. On a windy day, you can smell the salt air. The Humber estuary is vast and tidal, and it dominates the atmosphere around Blundell Park. The main stand is old, creaky, and full of character. Away fans in the Osmond stand get a true taste of English lower league football. 4. Mornflake Stadium, Gresty Road. Crewe Alexandra's home, officially the Mornflake Stadium, is another ground shaped by water, albeit indirectly. Built in 1906, with a capacity of 10,153, it sits near tributaries of the River Weaver, which winds through Cheshire. While not directly on the riverbank, the area's waterways and railway history are inseparable. This makes the stadium a cradle of development as much as a riverside relic. 3. Meadow Park. Few clubs have suffered more from their river location than Gloucester City. Meadow Park, their stadium by the River Severn, was built in 1986 with hopes of stability. Instead, it became notorious for flooding. By 2007, the Severn's waters had engulfed the ground so often. That Riverside story gives the stadium soul. Fans endured hardship, but their return to the Severnside site felt like a rebirth. 2. Roots Hall. Finally, we end at Roots Hall, Southend United's long-serving home since 1955. With a capacity of 12,392, it's a classic lower league stadium, tucked into the seaside town of Southend-on-Sea. While not directly on the water, it sits close to the Thames estuary, whose broad tidal stretch defines the town's character. Roots Hall remains the home of the Shrimpers, shaped by the water, by the estuary, and by decades of football drama. 1. Lincoln City's Sincil Bank. Sincil Bank, the home of Lincoln City, is one of those classic English football grounds where the location tells as much of the story as the stands themselves. The Sincil Bank Drain, a man-made water channel, runs right alongside the stadium and eventually feeds into the River Witham. That riverside link is more than just geography. It shaped the ground's very existence. And there you have it. From the Thames to the Tees, from the Trent to the Mersey, rivers have shaped English football more than most people realize. These 20 stadiums show how riverside settings create atmosphere, identity, and tradition. Thanks for watching. If you love the content, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and hit the notification button. See you in the next one.